Yep, yes you can.
Hi, my name is Alexis Tripp. This is my first year doing a VP. This is my first year in the Kids Care 4-H Club. Today I'll be going over how to develop a children's story. Now I love children's stories, and one of the reasons why is because I believe no matter what age, you can still enjoy them as they are. And I believe that once you grow older and read children's books, they can bring you back to some happy childhood memories. Today I'll be going over the 5 W's, how to develop a plot and what a plot line is, the illustration of a children's book, and the theme. Whoopsies. So, 5 W's are the who, what, where, when, and why. Whose are your characters. There are 2 versions of a character. There are round and flat characters. Round characters are basically the main or the important characters in your story. They could be main characters or maybe a main character's friend. Now, flat characters are characters that are still in the story, but not as much as the round characters. More like background characters or characters that appear in one chapter. What is your plot? Plot is what happens in your story, and to develop it, it could be a plot line. Now, since plot is more of a bigger, topic, we'll be talking over it in the other section. Where is your setting? And setting is where the story takes place. Where the story takes place can be anywhere you want it to be, as long as it sticks to your story and the general idea of it. Especially in children's stories, you want to make it really as imaginative as you can be, so the child can be still entertained while it's reading the story. When is also another setting, but it's more of a time frame. It could be night, it could be daytime, it could be 12 o'clock in the afternoon. It doesn't matter as long as it's a certain time frame. Why is the theme? Theme is usually what the author believes in, and it's usually where the climax of a story is or where the turning events is. It usually explains why something happens. Again, theme is more of a bigger topic, and we'll talk more about that later in the presentation. Next is plot and plot line. Plot is what happens in your story, again, what occurs, what happens. Plot should be easy for the child to understand. You shouldn't make it too complicated for the child to get confused on what's happening, so you want to make it kind of straightforward and sort of to the point, but still creative, that's still a story. Make sure to make your plot fun and creative, again, so the child is entertained while they're still reading it. A plot line is a way that you can make your plot and sort of help you develop it and remember it, and you could also do a spider web or just regularly write it down, but plot line usually helps me, so this is a plot line. You can draw it in many ways, it doesn't really matter. You start at the beginning of the mountain, which is where you write down what your beginning is going to be. Usually it introduces the characters and all that. Then it goes up to the first main event, or the first major main event. Then it goes to the first main event leads to the second main event. Then the second leads to the third. And finally at the climax, or usually where the theme is found, or where the story takes a turning place. Then it goes to the first ending resolution, where sort of things die down a bit and they start to feel safer or something. And then it goes to the second ending resolution, and then the second ending resolution goes to the third, and then finally to the ending or conclusion to the story. Next is illustration. Illustration is one of the most important features because really it's the most entertaining and most creative part of the whole entire thing, and it really draws the child in and it brings the imagination to life. Some authors that do their own drawings can be Shel Silverstein and Dr. Seuss. One very famous one by Shel Silverstein is Where the Sidewalk Ends, and he drew everything and wrote the poems as well. Then Dr. Seuss, who did Cat in the Hat, he did his own and he wrote his own, so very popular. And then one very, very, very famous book is Rainbow Fish, made by Marco Fisher, I think. Did I say his name? Sorry. And this book has won very many awards because of its own illustrations. So when you do your illustrations, you want to make sure to add a lot of color so it draws the reader in. So just make sure to add that. And make sure your drawings tie in with your story. And lastly, theme. Theme is what the author believes in. This is also very important to the story because it's usually what they want to teach the reader when they read it. Theme is not a one-word subject. It can't just be family. Sure, it's a nice topic, but if it's a one word, it's not going to be a very long and drifted story. So you could say, family, you should always love and care for your family. And that could be easily tied or root into what your story could be about. So whatever you believe in could be what your story could stem off of or what it could be about. So today I went over 5 W's of a story: the who, what, when, where, and why, what a plot is and how to develop your plot line, the illustration of your book, and the theme. This concludes my presentation.
Who is your favorite children's author?
The question was, who is my favorite children's author? I'd have to say a tie between Dr. Seuss and Shel Silverstein.
I'm not gonna trick you up, but you said something about the illustrations, and you said illustrations should be bright. But
I know. Okay. The question or comment was, I said how they should be bright, but some are not. I guess it depends on the author, really. I'd say if it's wacky enough, like, no one expects the edge of the earth to actually be there, so it depends on the author if they want to or not.
Because I figured that you have across the board, you like, that was, I guess it was a
That's also
comment.
directed a little bit older.
Yes,
Comments, too.
You have to have a higher level of word knowledge to understand the Shel Silversteins, I think. So, do you like your English class? Do you like to do creative writing?
The question is, do I like English class or creative writing? I was actually in class for creative writing. I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Alexis.